The hall was older than most empires. Carved into the asteroid's heart, the Chamber of Accord rose with vaulted ceilings and hovering glyphs of every species that had ever signed the peace treaty. 12 thrones lined the obsidian crescent. One seat remained empty, Earth's. Commander Elias Rain stood before them, posture straight, uniform unadorned. His face was unreadable. The eyes, however, watched everything. Velfex of the SYRH Dominion reclined, claws tapping against polished stone. His voice slithered through the hall. "We have reviewed your appeal, Terran." Again. And again. Elias didn't blink. "And? The vote stands." Velfex leaned forward. "Humanity will not be granted core membership. You will remain an observer. At our mercy." Silence. Elias scanned the council. The Drothi delegate averted her eyes. The twin minds of the Zell coalesced behind a shared smirk. The Karn diplomat, a silver-furred, nervous creature, fidgeted. "You claim instability," Elias said, calm as glass. "Yet your border colonies use Terran medicine. Your ships run on Earth-based reactors. Half your comms relay through our satellites." Velfex grinned, revealing translucent fangs. "You are useful, not trustworthy." Elias exhaled slowly. So this was never a vote. Just theater. "No," the Vietari delegate rasped. "It was judgment." The glyph above Earth's empty seat flickered. A soft crack echoed, unnoticed by most. Elias heard it. He nodded once. "I was briefed to accept rejection. I was instructed to maintain peace." He stepped forward. "But I am not here to beg. I am here to witness." That drew murmurs. Velfex's smile dimmed. "I was there on Vortis when our medics saved your hatchlings from plague. I stood at Andari's gate when we defended your outposts from pirates you were too proud to fight. And now you parade us as unpredictable threats?" Elias's voice never rose, but the weight of it shifted the room. Velfex stood, robe hissing. "You are dangerous. You dream too quickly. You fight too cleanly. You love too deeply. That is your crime." Elias almost smiled. "We bleed, so we don't rust. We build, so we don't beg. We protect, so we don't ask permission." He glanced toward the ceiling, where stars rotated in a slow holographic loop. "And now we leave." The council sat up. "Leave?" the Drothi delegate whispered. Elias reached into his coat, pulled out a small black cube, and placed it on the pedestal. "This contains Earth's withdrawal from the Accord. Immediate and total. Trade, tech, treaties. Everything." He looked at Velfex. "You wanted isolation. You'll get it. You can't walk away," Velfex hissed. "You will collapse. Alone." Elias's tone was quiet, final. "We were alone when we crawled out of the mud. We were alone when we split the atom. We were alone when we buried our first fallen soldier on a foreign moon." He turned, footsteps echoing. "Alone is where we learn. Alone is where we sharpen." The Karn delegate stood, tail swaying. "Commander, wait," but Elias didn't pause. As he passed the doors, the chamber lights dimmed. The glyph of Earth flickered again, then extinguished. Gone. For the first time in centuries, a species had left the Accord by choice. Inside the Athena's Oath, humanity's flagship, Elias entered the command deck. Captain Maricho saluted him. "Status?" "All Terran diplomats off-world. Embassies locked down. Civilian traffic rerouted. Fleet ready for silent drift." He nodded. "No retaliation orders?" "None issued. Not a single shot." Elias approached the viewport. Beyond it, the starfield shimmered like a held breath. "They think we've given up," Mira said. "They think walking away means weakness," Elias replied. "They don't understand that sometimes, silence is a sharper weapon than war." She hesitated. "You think they'll strike first?" No, Elias folded his arms. They'll panic first. Then they'll watch. Then they'll wonder. On Vetra 6, in the council's private chamber, Velfex paced. He dared us to make the first move, he snarled. You pushed him to it, the Karn delegate said softly. You would side with them? I'm not siding with anyone, the Karn said. I'm observing. And I'm afraid. Velfex turned sharply. Of war? No. Of what a quiet, patient human looks like, right before they stop asking. The council fell into a rare thing, silence. In the center of the table, the black cube blinked once. Then stopped. Just as Earth had. The stars blinked back like curious eyes. Earth's exodus had begun. No declarations. No war drums. Just absence, clean, surgical, and absolute. Across every corner of the galaxy, silence spread like frost. On the edge of SYRRH-controlled space, traffic slowed. Cargo stations once brimming with Terran engineers and data specialists sat cold, their terminals locked. No messages. No farewells. No demands. Just, gone. Terran Union Command Station, orbiting Tau Avelis Prime. Captain Mira Cho reviewed the board, blinking green lights across the fleet. No alerts. No errors. Every ship obeyed protocol severance to the letter. Elias Rain stood beside her, still as a statue. All embassies are sealed, Mira said. Local staff returned. Supply chains voided. They didn't even try to stop us. They will, Elias murmured. He watched as the last transmission from the old Accord looped on the screen. This action will isolate your people. Think carefully. Mira tilted her head. Do you think we overplayed it? Elias didn't answer immediately. Then, we didn't flinch. That frightens them more than any fleet. The bridge crew worked quietly. No alarms. No threats. Just the weight of transition. Cora Prime, Inner Rim. Velfex stood before a command console, claws pressed into the metal edge. Reports streamed in from every node of Accord space. Talmar Industrial Zone, production halted. Earth Tech Grid, offline. Earth Trade Hubs, closed. Terran Research Exchange, erased. He turned toward his aide. How many systems relied on Terran cores? 43 major sectors. Another 67 minor. And backups? The aide hesitated. None compatible. Velfex's brow twitched. They removed themselves. But they left the knife in. Deep space relay, unknown location. In the dark, ships drifted. Not stationed. Not active. Just waiting. Cloaked under Terran stealth tech, dozens of vessels held position in dead zones between galactic paths. Not threatening. Not visible. Not forgotten. Aboard one such ship, the Folded Sky, Admiral Rafi Bowler leaned back in his chair, watching encrypted transmissions from smaller species. One message blinked repeatedly on his screen. We saw what they did. We wish to talk. Rafi smiled faintly. They finally noticed. Back on the Athena's oath. Elias studied the incoming reports. Karn signals are spiking, Mira noted. Their outposts are sending encrypted pings through old Terran channels. Keep listening, Elias said. They're scared. They should be. Not of what we'll do. But because they're realizing what we won't do anymore. Council Hall, Vetra 6. The council sat in session again, 2 delegates absent, citing health. The room felt colder, even though the temperature hadn't changed. They've unplugged the arteries, the Zell twins spoke in unison. Trade blood is leaking into void. Velfex narrowed his eyes. They're forcing dependency collapse. The Karn delegate rose quietly. They aren't forcing anything. You cut them. Now you bleed. Their silence is hostile, Velfex snapped. Is it? Or is it just unfamiliar? Karn's voice was calm. You're used to conquerors who roar, not ones who whisper. The council fell quiet. Earth orbit, the arc ring. In the skies above a rejuvenated Earth, megastructures once used to route goods across the Accord now served a new purpose. Commanders, scientists, civilians, every human asset that had worked abroad returned. Knowledge centralized. Intelligence pooled. The entire species drew inward. But not out of fear. Out of intent. Elias watched live feeds from one of the Ark's observatories. Thousands of children, returned from galactic schools, now studied Earth's own stars. Human stars. We're building home again, Mira said. No, Elias replied. We're building forward. On our own terms. SYRRH Border Outpost, Zenth Station. 3 SYRRH vessels approached a previously shared relay. It didn't respond. Where's the Terran AI that ran this sector? The SYRRH commander barked. Offline. Code inaccessible. Reboot. We've tried. System locked with DNA triggers. The commander snarled. Humans pulled the brain and left us the bones. Council internal meeting, emergency session. Panic was now protocol. Food distribution rates are dropping, the Drothi delegate said. Entire zones were relying on Earth's crop yields and logistics systems. The Viatari slammed a hand against the table. They've dismantled our spine. Velfek sat quietly. Not with rage. With thought. We underestimated the humans, he said finally. We thought control was war. But control was function. He turned toward the hologram projecting the Accord's map. The Terran zones flickered dim. Not erased, but sealed. They didn't just walk away, Velfex murmured. They disconnected us from ourselves. Earth, Terran Command. Elias sat in his private office, holographic map glowing before him. Every region of the Accord was now marked, not with red, not with targets, but with empty space. He tapped a point near the Karn system. They'll reach out, he said aloud. Mira entered quietly. They already have. For messages today. All encrypted, low frequency, no trace. They're afraid of being seen talking to us. Send them coordinates. Neutral space. One ship. No weapons. You think they'll come? No. But they'll think about why we asked like that. He leaned back. That's the war. Not missiles. Not fleets. It's doubt. It's the first time they've had to ask, what if we're wrong about Earth? Final scene, unnamed system, edge of known space. A scout ship from the Athari Republic drifted through what had once been a shared trade sector. As they scanned, the sensor officer froze. Commander. You need to see this. On the dark side of a barren moon, a Terran message beacon pulsed. Just 4 words glowed on the screen. We are still watching. The Athari crew didn't speak. They didn't approach. They turned their ship and left the system in silence. The galaxy didn't erupt in war. It unraveled in whispers. Systems once tied together by Terran logistics now spun off axis. Cargo routes scrambled. Diplomatic ties frayed. Commerce crawled. No planet burned, no weapon fired, yet the fear was louder than thunder. The Terrans hadn't vanished. They'd stopped answering. SYRRH High Chamber, Dominion Core. Valfax read the latest security reports. 5 major border stations offline. Civilian unrest growing. Technology glitches now blamed on Earth ghosts. He tapped the desk. Are they interfering with us? His aide shook their scaled head. No transmissions. No cyber traces. Just nothing. Valfax didn't like silence. He preferred enemies he could see. They're not retaliating, he said slowly. They're erasing dependency. Karn Colony, Iridan Outpost. Ambassador Niravel, Karn's chief diplomat, opened a confidential channel from her chamber. A single symbol blinked back, a Terran encryption marker. One Earth hadn't used publicly in decades. She typed, "Are you still listening?" A pause. Then, "We always were." Mira exhaled. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Not because the Terrans would protect her people, but because she finally understood. They didn't need the Accord. The Accord needed them. Terran Space, Earth HQ, South Atlantic Orbital Dome. Elias Rains stepped onto the command platform. The Earth below gleamed, storms curling like slow poetry. On the global channel, an AI voice reported. Status, reintegration complete. 72,000 Terran personnel returned. Civilian outreach centers re-established. Independent economic framework stabilizing. Captain Mira joined him. Alliance chatter is rising. Half of them think we're building weapons. We are, Elias said flatly. But not the kind they fear. She waited. He gestured to a glowing star map. We're building alliances without threats. Systems without dependency. Strength without arrogance. You think they'll understand that? No, Elias said. I think they'll feel it. Council war room, emergency briefing. Chaos had crept in. Delegates now argued over minor trade violations, miscommunication between ships, food shortages in former Terran-assisted sectors. They're destabilizing the Accord, the Viatari thundered. They haven't moved a single ship, the Drothi snapped back. This is us falling apart. Velfex didn't speak. He watched the holographic map, flashing red dots showing lost stations, gray zones where systems had declared neutrality. A new color appeared, blue. Earth's symbol. But not in Earth's region. It now glowed on several fringe planets. Peaceful. Independent. Not conquered. Aligned. They're forming a new network, Velfex whispered. Not through control. Through respect. The room fell quiet. He stood. If they won't come back to our table, we may be forced to go to theirs. Outer Rim, planet Vexia. 3 months ago, Vexia was a forgotten mining colony. Now it was something else. Earth engineers had returned, not as overlords, not as diplomats, but as partners. Terran tech ran clean power. Terran teachers reopened ancient Karn schools. Food shipments arrived weekly. No cost. No terms. Just help. The Karn governor asked why. The Terran envoy had replied. Because we remember what it's like to be ignored. Earth broadcast, one message, no demand. Then came the signal. Every world, every satellite, every species heard it. A human voice, clear, emotionless, composed. We offered peace. It was declined. We sought trust. It was denied. So we walked away. We do not seek war. But we will not return to chains wrapped in smiles. Humanity is building its own table. One not shaped by fear, but by choice. If you come to us, come freely. If not, watch well. Learn what happens when the quiet ones stop waiting. Transmission ended. No threats. No ultimatums. Just clarity. Velfex's private chambers, SYRRH Dominion. The supreme strategist sat in the dark. He replayed the message. Again. Again. He didn't hate humans. Not anymore. He envied them. Every species they had touched now measured their rulers by Earth's restraint. Even the SYRRH youth were mimicking human customs, curious, defiant, free. Power was shifting. Not through war, through example. He whispered into the silence, "What do we do now?" No answer came. Only the echo of a species he had tried to control and now could never contain. Back on Earth, quiet victory. Elias walked the shoreline of the Cape Recovery Base. Waves lapped at his boots. The world felt alive. Mira stood beside him, arms crossed. They're scared of us now. No, Elias corrected. They're scared of what we didn't do. She nodded. And what comes next? He looked out to sea. Whatever we want. A pause. Because now, we don't need anyone's permission. Final scene, Galactic Core, observation drone feed. The drone hovered above the dead zone between Council space and Earth's new boundary. Dozens of ships drifted, positioned in precise formations. Not blockade. Not attack. Presence. In the black, a message blinked again and again. We never wanted to lead. But we will, if no one else remembers how. No signature. No need. The galaxy already knew who sent it. It began quietly, how all true shifts do. One world lit up. Then another. And another. Not from fire, nor conquest, but from awakening. They had called it Earth's withdrawal. A retreat. But in truth, it was the first act of something far older, something more dangerous than war. A principle. Karn space, settlement of Variel. The Terrans had returned, but they wore no flags. Dr. Isa Malek adjusted her tool belt and handed a solar relay to a young Karn engineer. No speeches. Just work. Beside her, half the town helped install an energy grid that would power homes, clinics, and learning centers for the next century. You came back, the local elder said, voice quivering. After the council spat in your face. Isa wiped sweat from her brow. We don't build for applause. He tilted his head. Then why? She shrugged. Because we remember what it was like to have no one. Terran diplomatic vessel, Whisper class. Destination, neutral orbit, Deltari system. Commander Elias Rain leaned forward, arms folded as he watched a live feed of the delegation table. Across it sat leaders from 5 independent species, once Accord members, now uncertain refugees of a broken system. None spoke yet. They waited for Elias to demand something. He didn't. Instead, he said, you asked to meet. We listened. One of them, a thin, blue-skinned governor from the Akstari Syndicate, cleared her throat. We thought you'd come to bargain. Threaten. Elias tilted his head. Then you haven't been paying attention. Another asked, what do you want? He answered calmly, for your people to stop being afraid to breathe. That silenced them. SYRH War Room, Dominion Core. Valfax listened to the reports. Again. Another outpost had voluntarily signed onto Earth's Independent Cooperation Treaty. No battle. No losses. Just signatures. Willingly. One of his advisors slammed a report down. They're spreading through peace. Valfax said nothing. He only watched the map of known space. Blue lights, Earth's aligned worlds, grew each day. Like stars forming their own constellation. They're not spreading, he whispered. They're being followed. Council debrief, emergency gathering, Vetra 6. This is insubordination, barked the Zell delegates. This is erosion, muttered the Vietari. But none could hide the truth, their planets were watching Earth, and wondering. The loyalty once bought with fear now drifted toward respect. They're not fighting us, a Drothi scholar said. They're replacing us. The chamber held its breath. Earth, new Accord formation site, Amazon Cradle Zone. Under a living dome of biosynthetic glass, humans and alien delegates sat at a round table. No pedestal. No thrones. Just voices, equal and direct. Captain Miracho stepped forward to speak. There are no seats here to deny. No emblems to salute. You come if you wish. You leave if you must. But if you stay, you protect the dignity of all who sit here. No guards. No contracts. Just trust. And yet, it held more weight than centuries of treaties ever had. Valfax's quarters, Dominion Observatory. Alone, he stared into a data feed. A child of SYRRH origin, his own granddaughter, was using a human textbook in school. Learning Terran ethics. Quoting Terran thinkers. Writing poems in English. He should have felt rage. But he felt tired. He remembered a lesson once taught to him when he was young and brutal. The loudest conquerors burn fast. The quiet ones reshape the world. Velfex stood slowly. Then, unthinkably, opened a private comms line. To Terran High Command, he said. I request dialogue. Terran response, and signed. No demands. No conditions. Just a single message returned. You are not the enemy. Fear was. Meet us where fear cannot follow. 3 months later, Joint Station Nova 1. Velfex stood beneath Earth's banner, not alone, but beside others who once voted Earth down. A Terran child offered him a crystal of Andari glass. A gift. He accepted it, hands shaking. You were once our enemy, she said. But you still came. He looked into her human eyes. I remember, he said. And for the first time in a generation, he meant it. Final broadcast, unknown origin, galaxy-wide uplink. A voice echoed across stars. Not Elias. Not a diplomat. Just a teacher, reading to students on a reclaimed world. Empires fall when they stop listening. Peace begins when we remember each other. Let history say not that Earth rose in fury, but that it refused to bow. And in standing tall, invited others to do the same. Final image, deep space, unknown coordinates. A ring of ships hovered in perfect orbit around a newborn world. Not a blockade. Not a fortress. A promise. Inside the central vessel, words etched into a steel wall. We walked away not to escape the galaxy, but to remind it what it means to stand for something. And across every sky they touched, one message remained constant. Earth remembers.